A deeply fractured family dispute has culminated in a legal ruling after a mother attempted to reclaim assets she had previously transferred to her daughters, alleging they conspired to deprive her of her wealth. Camilla Baines, who had gifted her daughters a significant portion of her £1 million fortune, later sought to reverse these transfers, claiming they were intended only as temporary arrangements. However, her daughters, Sonia and Sian, argued that their mother's actions were driven by greed and jealousy of their professional success. Sonia is a doctor working with the Football Association, while Sian is a lawyer. The case, heard at Central London County Court, saw Judge Nigel Gerald rule in favour of the daughters, concluding that the assets rightfully belonged to them and that their mother could not reclaim what she had voluntarily given away. The court heard that Mrs. Baines, who relies on means-tested benefits due to her ill health, had transferred her £295,000 divorce settlement to her daughters and taken steps to sever her legal ties to her £800,000 home in Sutton. She burned documents proving her ownership of the property to avoid jeopardising her welfare benefits. However, after these actions, she changed her mind and launched a legal battle to reclaim the house and the money, accusing her daughters of fabricating a story to keep her out of her wealth. Judge Gerald dismissed these claims, stating that the evidence clearly showed Mrs. Baines had knowingly and willingly divested herself of the assets. It would be wrong to conclude that either daughter has done the dirty on their mother, he said. Rather, it seems more likely that the mother, having gifted these monies to her children, realised the unwisdom of her conduct and now seeks to get back that which she gifted. The judge described the family as very sad, troubled, and unfortunate, noting the intense animosity that had developed between Mrs. Baines and her daughters. This was a stark contrast to earlier years, when Sonia had even donated a kidney to her mother in 2017 after being told her mother's second kidney was failing and she was dying. The family's financial troubles began after Mrs. Baines' divorce from her husband in 2011, which was finalised in 2019. During this period, she received the family home, but chose to move due to her ex-husband still living next door. A new property was purchased in Rosehill Gardens, Sutton, with Sonia's name on the title deeds, though documents indicated Mrs. Baines was the true beneficial owner. However, in 2019, Mrs. Baines signed a letter renouncing her ownership of the house and burned the trust deeds, a move the judge found was motivated by her desire to protect her benefits. She was consciously divesting herself of her assets to retain her welfare benefits, Judge Gerald said. She had been alerted to the risks of benefit fraud and wanted to protect herself. The court also examined the distribution of funds from the 2019 divorce settlement, which allocated £100,000 to Sonia and £240,000 to Sian. Mrs. Baines claimed the money was only meant to be held in trust for her, but the judge found no evidence to support this. He noted that £45,000 of Sonia's share was intended for her younger brother, but the remainder was a clear gift to the daughters. The lawyers and mother well understood that the recipient of the money would be the owner and not the mother, Judge Gerald said. The mother would just have to trust that person to return the money. Implicit was an understanding that there was a risk the recipient might keep it and not return it. He added that Mrs. Baines had deliberately concealed her interest in the funds from the benefits agency, knowing she was not entitled to them. In his final ruling, Judge Gerald affirmed that Sonia is the rightful owner of the Sutton property and £55,000 of the money she received, while Sian retains the £240,000 allocated to her. The remaining £45,000 held by Sonia is designated for her brother's benefit. The decision underscores the legal finality of the gifts and the consequences of Mrs. Baines's actions, bringing a painful chapter in the family's history to a close.